Good morning, good afternoon. I really appreciate everyone spending a few minutes with us today. Really excited about today's session. We've got a lot of great information. We've got nearly 200 people that have RSVP'd, and we've had a few RSVPs that literally came in the last 5 minutes. So thank you, thank you, thank you to each and every single one of you. And we're going to make today as action-packed and as actionable as possible. So I just want to read a few comments that were received over these last couple of weeks. And these mean a lot to the team and to myself. So thanks for all the great tips, advice, and tools. Very real world and so genuine. Yeah, I'm not going to answer that right now. Let's see here. You're a great explainer yourself with a smiley face. Well, that's very kind of you. Also, looking forward to getting my head wrapped around LinkedIn. Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today. Thanks, David and team. Thank you very much. Also, I'm hoping to learn more from this webinar as I have team members using LinkedIn for sales. I'd like to become more knowledgeable so I can get better support and guide them in their efforts. This absolutely we're going to be discussing today from the not just from the tactical perspective, but also from that of the more the strategic perspective as well. Okay, next, just two last quick ones, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm fairly new to the security industry, so I'm mainly looking to gain a better understanding of how Security Technology Group can best strategize on LinkedIn. I would also love to hear how it can best be utilized to gain new leads and increase brand awareness. And that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today. So thank you very much. And this sounds interesting and promising. There's a few questions that were asked as well, that if time permits, I'll go ahead and get to those. But once again, thank you everyone for spending a few minutes with us today. Today is, I got to tell you, just really quickly, this last week was absolutely amazing. For those of you that I spent some time with in Vegas at the NFPA, as well as in Atlanta at ESX, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm going to do a really poor job. I feel like my daughter's looking at me and saying, Dad, you better get this right or else. I'm going to do a bad example of a heart here, but thank you. I really appreciate spending time with each and every single one of you. I had such amazing feedback. And as I shared with you live in person, I know I get to take all the credit, but it's not me, it's the team. So a big thanks to each and every single one of the members of our team that really helped to not only make these webinars possible, but that make SD marketing possible. So thank you to each and every single one of the members of our team. With that said, and Lewis, I'm going to lower your hand, but if you do have a question, if you can add that in the chat. Okay. So as I'd mentioned, today we're going to be discussing everything that of LinkedIn, and really, really appreciate everyone's time here. And as I'm taking a look at everyone that's here live, I'm seeing many of my good friends and many individuals that I don't know. So I look forward to getting to know you. Okay. So in terms of just, and I'll literally spend like 30 seconds on just a few of these slides. The biggest thing is we're proud members. I mean, we're huge advocates of that of our industry. Our industry is much better off when the associations are flourishing. So I encourage for each and every single one of you to join that of your local state and or national associations. We're proud members, and we don't just share dollars. We don't just exchange dollars. We volunteer, and we are from that of the industry and volunteer and help as best as we can. In terms of the things that we do, it is all about putting the groups that we work with in the middle of success. We don't work with direct competitors. We work with the entire industry, and we do marketing services. I'm not going to get too detailed into this. The groups that we serve is, once again, the entire ecosystem, from that of alarm dealers, integrators, guard/patrol companies, and fire alarm companies. And we also work with the vendors on the hardware and the software side that help to support the channel in terms of marketing strategy and tactical execution as well. A little bit about me, and I'll just be very brief because I think a few of you may that I don't know. I'm the co-founder of SD Marketing. We're a marketing agency. Of course, we've been around for 14 and a half years. I've been very blessed. By the way, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn, and let's keep this conversation going. Obviously, that's today's topic. And I've also been very, very blessed to speak at many of the industry's biggest events. But once again, today is not about me. Today is about each and every single one of you. What I will say, and I'm going to ask everyone here in the in the chat, if you can type one in the chat if you appreciate Isabella. I probably should put a bunch of ones here. So Isabella has a very tough, thankless job because all day long she's reaching out to each and every single one of you. And by the way, many of you that I speak with have great things to share about Isabella. We share that in common. As you can appreciate, sometimes she catches individuals that are, how do I say this? And by the way, it means a lot to me to see all these ones. Some of you are sending them directly to me, and some of you are sending these to everyone. And I really appreciate that, because I would say she probably, if not the toughest, that one of the toughest jobs here at the company. And we're very, very appreciative of you. So Isabella is here to make sure that you've got all of the calendar links for that of the upcoming webinars for individuals that would like to discuss to see as to whether we can help you with that of your marketing. She helps to coordinate that of those meetings. And a big thanks. So there's a QR code here. Feel free on the replay. By the way, speaking of that, we will be, how do I say that? We will be recording. Well, obviously we're recording this, so we'll make sure on the replay you can see this as well. So let's see, Rick. I don't know Isabella, but if she works with you, many blessings. Just Rick, you are a good friend. You're a good man, my friend. Listen, if we can't have a little fun, we can't have a little, then it's not worth doing it. Yes, agree. I love that one. Good one, Rick. By the way, a quick side note, for my good friends, many of my good friends have great humor. And when you stop giving me a hard time, then I always have problems. So please keep it coming. Okay. So with that said, one couple of last things here, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with that of today's content. As I'd mentioned, a big thanks to my team, but I also would like to give a big thanks to our two sponsors for today's webinar. And without these two individuals, this would not be possible. And I have incredible gratitude towards that of these two groups. The first one is Recognize. So by the way, if you're familiar with Recognize, if you can type a 2 in the chat. If you're not familiar with Recognize, if you can type a 3 in the chat, I'd appreciate that. And just really quickly, a little bit of Recognize. I'd imagine most of us that are on the alarm dealer, guard side, or the integrator side, a lot of us are going to be dealing with outdoor type things. Okay, I'm seeing a few 3s, I'm seeing some 2s. I appreciate everyone's feedback. If you're dealing with video surveillance, and if any of the solutions that you're working with happen to deal with outdoor type security applications, I would highly recommend for you to reach out to our good friends at that of Recognize. They basically deal with intelligent outdoor security that's AI based, and it's more that visual verification type solution. And the good news is it's not dependent upon the actual cabling and things in that regard. It can be fully remote and things in that regard, whether it's utilizing solar, utilizing that of the various alarm communication methods with that of the SIM chips. And I know I'm doing a horrible job of communicating this, but what I will ask is, as you reach out to Recognize to learn more about them, if you'll let them know that your good friends at SD Marketing sent you, I would greatly appreciate that. And then to that of our newest sponsor, a big, big thanks. And by the way, this is why I'm wearing red today, to give a big thanks to our good friends at NAPCO. NAPCO is our latest sponsor of that of our webinar series, and we're very, very appreciative of this opportunity. And once again, on that of the alarm dealer integrator side, and even on that of the guard side, it's a lot of our industries, there's a lot of convergence that's happening these days. NAPCO is like more of this end-to-end provider. Whether you're needing assistance with access control, whether it's security systems, whether it's video surveillance, fire, and I'm just getting started. They've been around for over 55 years, and they're great people. Once again, if you would like to learn more about NAPCO, reach out to them and let them know that your good friends at SD Marketing sent you, and I would greatly appreciate that. So once again, a big thanks to that of Recognize and NAPCO for sponsoring today's event. So with that said, in terms of what we're going to be covering today, we're going to be discussing why LinkedIn matters. Obviously, we're all here for a reason, so we know that LinkedIn is important, but we're going to discuss really briefly the why. I'm going to share some numbers, some of these KPIs. In terms of that of LinkedIn, we'll discuss not just some of the tactical things, but also from the strategy perspective. We're going to be showcasing some specifics in terms of how to optimize out of your profile, because the big key here, and for those of you that have been on these sessions before, you know that I'm very purposeful and methodical about referencing know, like, and trustability. These are really, really important. And LinkedIn itself, not just with that of your profile itself, but in a general sense, in terms of how you utilize that of LinkedIn, it can really help to build your know, like, and trustability. It is an opportunity to accelerate that of your overall sales process, We're going to talk about that of the content strategy that really builds that of your topical authority. If time permits, we will get to as many of your questions as you have. And then we're also going to quickly talk about your 30-day action plan. So in terms of what you should be looking to walk away with from today's session, it should be a clear understanding in terms of how LinkedIn is incredibly powerful for that of the biz dev from that of our perspective. I'm going to showcase some practical techniques. We'll talk about strategic approaches, and we'll have a specific step-by-step roadmap that you can get started with, like not tomorrow, but I'm talking about today, and a sustainable content strategy. So with that said, let me quickly stop sharing, and I will reshare here momentarily. Okay. So I have 4 quick questions that I'm going to share here. I'm going to participate with you. We have 4 quick questions. Keep in mind, for those of you that have not been here before, these are, how do I say this? These are anonymous. I don't know the answers. And by the way, it's okay during these poll sessions for you to grab your phones. And if you wouldn't mind scanning that of this QR code, and let's answer these questions honestly. The first question is, what's your primary goals for using LinkedIn? And I'm allowing us to use up or select up to 2. Is it to generate leads and sales opportunities? Is it to build your professional network? Is it to stay updated on industry trends, recruit talent / find job opportunities, establish thought leadership? Or I don't currently use LinkedIn. So you can select 1 or 2. And if you can answer this honestly, that would be great. I'm going to keep this up and running for another 5-10 seconds. And what I'd like for each of us to do is once again, step 1 is let's answer this honestly. And then step 2, once we get a little bit more data here, I'd like for you to compare how you answered this versus how others are answering this. To me, it's no surprise that the number 1 is going to be generating leads / sales opportunities. And I see here, number 2 is building your professional network. I mean, all of these things are incredibly important. I purposely, besides that of the last one, and technically, technically all 4 of these, let's see, all 5 of these would be applicable, but I wanted to see what your primary goals were. So I appreciate that. And let's go on to the next one. And let's see here. Which aspects of LinkedIn do you find most challenging? So let's now, from the challenging perspective, which ones, and you can select either 1 or 2 here. Is it creating engaging content, building a professional profile, connecting with the right people, finding time for consistent activity, or measuring ROI and results? And let's give everyone just a moment or so to answer this. So once again, what are your 2 most challenging? And we'll give this just another 3-4 seconds. So yeah, creating engaging content. I believe that makes a lot of sense. Connecting with the right individuals, because once again, if you get the right message in front of the right individuals, that makes a lot of sense. And finding time. Time is our worst enemy. Okay, thank you all so much. Okay, 2 more last questions. These are just going to be just one response here. How often do you currently post content on LinkedIn? Never, rarely, occasionally, regularly, or frequently, like 3 times a week. Okay, we'll give this just another 5-10 seconds. Okay, occasionally, 1 to 3 times a month. Okay, that's interesting. And I see here never. Okay, so by the way, it's okay, and I appreciate everyone being. I don't know as to who's answering what, but what my goal, by the way, is as we have this conversation next year, or for those of you that are posting the never, I am hopeful that I'm cautiously optimistic, but that by the time that we're done with today's session, this is going to change. So I really appreciate everyone sharing their. Okay, gotcha. So the big one is regularly or occasionally. Okay, understood. Thank you. Last question. So whereas we talked about posting, now let's talk about commenting. So how often do you currently comment? And this is the last question, by the way. We're going to get into content here. Okay, so frequently, never, rarely, occasionally, or okay, well, you all get the point here. And we'll give this just another 5-7 seconds or so. Okay, awesome. I love the fact that occasionally and frequently are on, well, I would prefer to have frequently and occasionally on top, regularly, but okay, gotcha. Well, once again, we're gonna talk about why rarely, never, these are not what we want to do. Well, rarely and never, we don't want to be doing this. We want to be doing these at the very least regularly, if not frequently. This is really, really important. We're going to talk about that. So once again, let me stop sharing. Okay, so you should be able to see this. Okay, so let's talk about the opportunity or LinkedIn by the numbers. Keep in mind here in the US market, LinkedIn is home to over 65 million decision makers. It's a huge number. It's the old adage of be where your customers are, be where your prospects are. And from the B2B, and this is organically, from the B2B perspective, LinkedIn, according to, I believe this is according to LinkedIn. I don't recall this according to LinkedIn or another third party, but of the B2B social media leads that are generated, half of them are generated from LinkedIn. And this, I'm going to spend just a moment here. I'd asked the question a couple minutes ago about how often do we post, and I participated in the poll as well. And I got to tell you, I do my best to practice what I preach. I do my best to, at the very least, on the average, to make sure I'm posting at least once per week. Once per week. Usually, I would say on the average, it's maybe 2 to 4 times per week, dependent upon the particular week. And yes, I'm very blessed and fortunate that I do have the team here that helps me to post and things in that regard. But one fun fact, and when I say a fun fact, one interesting fact is that of the active users on LinkedIn, only 1% of them, when I say 1% of them, I'm going to say 1% of us post on the average one time or more per week. I don't know about you, but I want to continue to be a 1%. And I challenge each and every single one of us to make the commitment starting today moving forward to be a 1%er. And by the way, as you are posting things on LinkedIn, please tag me and I will do my best to engage with them. I'm going to talk about why that's important here in just a moment. And in a general sense, once again, LinkedIn is the number one platform for B2B lead generation. So this is what the opportunity is. In terms of why it matters to us, keep in mind social media in a general sense, and I know it's hard to see me, but because of this device here, what's happened over these last few to several years, it's changed everything. As a society, we spend a lot of time on social media, but when we spend time on LinkedIn, our mindset is very, very different. We're spending time on LinkedIn to enrich our career, to network with others, to learn more about how we can be more effective at our respective roles. And once again, we want to be where our prospects and our customers are. Also, trust, it is essential in terms of building trust. And it's the key here is because look, I know when we look at LinkedIn, it's technology, it's social media. And for those of us that are not experts or we don't spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, it can be a little intimidating at times. But the thing that I challenge each and every single one of us, including myself, is if I were to ask everyone rhetorically, who of us here, and I'm asking this rhetorically, so you're welcome to engage in the chat, but feel free, you don't have to, how many of us are great at networking and live in person, building relationships and communicating with others? And I would imagine that's, if it's not every single one of us, it's just about every single one of us. And I am just seeing here, by the way, I see here from about a minute ago. So Robbie Slaughter asked the question, what makes LinkedIn different for security professionals versus other professionals? So security pros, why I looked at my, okay. So Robbie, it's a good point. I would say this, I won't say that it necessarily is different for one industry versus the other, but what I will say here is one of the things that our industry lacks, and in a few minutes, we're going to showcase what's referred to as the LinkedIn SSI, or the Social Selling Index score, which is a computation of various factors. And you're going to see where LinkedIn is a tremendous opportunity. It's like, for example, every 5, 10, 15, 20 years, it's like, it's time to do direct mail again, because it comes and goes. Anyhow, I don't mean to get off into too many tangents. I hope that this is answering your question. It's not that LinkedIn is not important for other B2B or other industries or what have you, but LinkedIn is such a tremendous opportunity for us in this industry. And once again, when I show you some numbers here, and this is real data, you're going to see some things that are really, really interesting and things in that regard. So the big key here, and as I was sharing just a minute ago or so, is we want to position ourselves as a trusted advisor and not a vendor. I'll share with you just on a quick side note. And for those of us that are on the vendor side here, one of the things that I challenge us is, and this includes myself, is when we connect with someone that's a prospect on LinkedIn or in person, or when we're at a live event, do not just go to the trade show. Do not just go to ask for that of a meeting and sharing with how we can help with X, Y, or Z based on what we're doing. Spend time by building relationships, positioning ourselves as a trusted advisor, spending time in the classes, having like really investing in this industry. These things are really, really important. And by the way, what I'm sharing, it goes well beyond LinkedIn. Keep in mind, our prospects not only spend time, but they're researching solutions on that of the platform. And once again, as we build our brand, we position ourselves as a trusted advisor, our know, like, and trustability grows and goes through the roof. And it really positions us well and makes us very visible to that of prospects. The other thing in terms of when we transition towards that of the profile optimization, keep in mind when we have professional profiles, it receives a lot more views. On occasion, I still see profiles that do not have a profile picture. And by the way, don't have a profile picture that's from a mile away, because keep in mind when, especially, and I know it's hard to see me, but when we're on that of the mobile device here, it's hard to see that of someone's face. You want to make sure that you are building your personal brand as well as your company's brand. And keep in mind, once again, nearly 9 in 10 executives are rating LinkedIn as their number one place for professionally relevant content. Keep in mind, your profile is not necessarily meant to be like that of a resume, but it's an opportunity to be an interactive, I don't want to refer to it as a pitch page, but that's what's coming to my mind right now. And keep in mind, and this is where I'm gonna show you some data around this, but most of us are completely underutilizing our LinkedIn profile. And by the way, I have a long ways to go. You're going to see my score here in just a few minutes, and you'll be surprised. So in addition, so specifically with that of when we take into consideration at our LinkedIn profile, it is key and critically important, as I mentioned, to have a professional photo. The other big thing is you want to have a background graphic, and keep in mind with tools, whether it's from your marketing department, even utilizing tools if you're not a professional designer. I mean, obviously, if you have in-house marketing or if you work with a third party, they can help to create that of a nice professional background image. If you don't have that, what you can look to do is you can look to use a tool like a Canva or something along those lines to help create that of the background graphic. You can do a quick search in terms of what are the dimensions and share information that's going to be helpful. I'll show you when I log into my profile as to what I'm referring to here. The other big thing is do not just say, CEO of XYZ Security or regional sales manager of ABC Security as an example, because really that may be potentially not just self-serving, but really keep in mind, it's all about how can we help? And remember, LinkedIn also has a search functionality as well. So in terms of a formula, if you want to take a quick snapshot of this, obviously you can see this on the replay as well, but you want to focus on what's your role and who you help. Like, in other words, what's your role, what's your target audience, and what's the problem that you solve? So as an example, security integration leader helping enterprises protect assets through customized, scalable security solutions. Now, obviously, this has a little bit of fluff in it. We can be a little bit more specific and have other keywords, including like access control, security guard and patrol, alarm systems, et cetera, et cetera. But what we don't want to do is just say, I am XYZ at XYZ security company, if that makes sense, because that's not showcasing how we can help others and what we do in things in that regard. This is like the old way of doing things. That's not the way we do things in the middle of 2025 and beyond. Excuse me. In terms of, as you scroll down on the page, on the About Us section, this is not meant to be read like a cover letter or that of a resume once again. Remember, we want to tell your story. It is so important when we are having discussions with others, not just to, on a one-on-one basis, tell stories because they resonate with others, but within our LinkedIn, we want to showcase that of our value, and we can tell stories in terms of some of the challenges that you solve. And it's not just about being self-serving. Once again, it's not just about what we do and all of the, results-driven one, and by the way, I'm guilty. This is the way I used to be. I've learned, hopefully I continue to learn from that of my my experiences in that regard. You want to make sure that we're including relevant industry keywords because searchability is really important. When someone is searching for what you're looking for, whether it's on Google or whether it's on that of AI or whether it's on that of LinkedIn, we want to make sure that you're showing up within that of the results. And by the way, LinkedIn lets us know how many times your profile was not just viewed, but searched for and showed up within the search results as well. You want to do things, from a first person perspective. And the big key here is, and not just in our About Us section, not just in our profile, but in the way that we communicate on LinkedIn, we want to make sure that we are both authentic and personable. It is so, I can't underscore these two words enough. Be authentic, be real, be personable. These things are incredibly important. Remember, the way that you conduct business, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you communicate with others is so incredibly important. And you want to be utilizing similar things here in that of the cyber world on LinkedIn as well. Also, keep in mind, remember, we've got the attention span that's less than that of a goldfish. And it is so important not just to have these huge long blocks of copy. You want to make sure that we're formatting specifically for readability. And this is where, whether it's a combination of short paragraphs, bullet points, there's a phrase that's referred to as broetry, which in other words, it's like when you're doing post, you have just a handful of words. It could be like 3 to 5, 3 to 7 words. And then you purposely do a couple of line breaks so that you're clicking on the read more or learn more. These are some of the signals, some of the factors for that of LinkedIn that's really, really important. And then within the About Us section, we want to make sure that we're ending with that of a clear call to action. When we get to that of the experience and skills area, keep in mind, we want to make sure that we're demonstrating what? Our expertise, and we want to demonstrate the fact that we're very credible. It's really, really important. And I'm going to skip through a couple of these things because I want to make sure we have enough time to go through that of some of these live demos. And I want to jump live into LinkedIn. I'm sure a few of us are going to have some questions. But we want to make sure that experience, skills, recommendations in the featured section, make sure that we have each of these filled out properly. This is really, really important. And make sure that everything that we're doing, it's all a matter of, with your ICP, your ideal customer profile, what does it matter to them? Always look at it from their perspective. In terms of when we transition towards now, we've got our profile optimized and we talk about that of our content strategy. The one thing that I will start off with is methodical and steady marketing wins the race. I'm going to say that one more time. Methodical and steady marketing wins the race. It is so critically important. It is not just like, let's say you go to the gym, you hit it hard for 2 weeks, and then you take 2 months off. That's not going to get it done. You've got to make sure. I would much rather you spend 2 to 3 minutes a day, every single day, as opposed to 30 minutes and then wait 30 days to do another 30 minutes. Excuse me. The key here is we want to build that of your personal brand. And keep in mind, it's just like compound interest in that of our investments. When you are consistent, the engagement compounds over time. There are various different numbers of content types, including text posts, documents, polls, videos, articles, and then some. Remember, our goal is not just to get ourselves out there, but we want to build ourselves into our customers and our industries who they know, like, and trust. In terms of spending a little bit more or expanding upon this a little bit, video posts are really, really important. And by the way, I know that for those of you that I'm connected with and I know well, I know you may think that I really enjoy doing selfies. And I got to tell you, it is difficult for me to do those. I'm cringing, even though I'm smiling on the surface, I'm cringing inside because I am my own worst critic. But I'll tell you what, these things are really, really important. I'm telling you, even with the video stuff. And I know we don't have a lot of time. I did, I think it was last webinar, we did a webinar on that of video. If you haven't seen it, take a look at that specifically. There will be some tips and tricks in terms of ways that you can go ahead and get started and things in that regard, but keep those things in mind. Okay. Anonymous attendee says, do you feel authentic when you make selfies? All right. Now that's a really good question. The short answer is yes. Do I feel authentic? Because I don't take pictures, for the most part, I don't take pictures with individuals I don't know. I take pictures with friends. And some of my friends are strategic partners. Some of my friends are colleagues that I've known for years, and some of my friends are that of groups that we worked with over the years. So yes, to me, it's important for me to take pictures with that of my friends, uh, and to also make sure I tag them because I want to encourage them. I want to encourage all of my friends to be active on that of on LinkedIn. So, anonymous attendee, I appreciate you asking the question and by putting the parenthesis around that of the authentic. Okay, next, document posts. We want to make sure, like document posts, this is where you can upload, whether it's white papers, case studies, things in this regard. These are things that are going to that LinkedIn, the algorithm really likes these kinds of things. The big thing though is things that we take for granted. Because keep in mind, and let's just say, for example, we are, I've got my alarm dealer or my integrator hat on. A lot of the things that I take for granted are end user customers. They don't necessarily know those things off the top of their head. So we want to make sure that we're showcasing those things and sharing some of these insights and trends and things in that regard. Like once again, I just got back from that of ESX and NFPA. So some of the things that were learned there these are things that can be shared and things in that regard. The big thing is we want to make sure that we are showcasing or sharing things that are educational and they're helpful for others. It's like, for example, for those of you that I'm connected with, when's the last time I've had a post that says, to schedule a meeting with how we can help you, click on this link? Like never. I don't know. I can't remember the last time I've done that. And maybe I should be a little more assertive in that regard, but that's not necessarily who my authentic self is, so to speak. And my point being here is I want to be more perceived as more of a resource and helpful and someone that really wants to always be giving back to the industry and to inspire others to be at their best and things in that regard. And that's just who my personal brand is. And for those that are interested in learning more about how we can help, those things come in naturally and organically and things in that regard. I'll finish up here with some of the personal perspectives and that of behind the scene glimpses. To me, it's like, as an example, one of the ways that we can look to create some copy or content is, let's say that there's an article that's written or as an example, or something comes about from one of our vendors or manufacturers. Why not share that and then give your perspective on things? Maybe there's something that I say and you don't necessarily agree with what I have to say, and that's okay. But the thing is, we want to be very respectful because maybe there's something that someone else says that I don't necessarily agree with, or I basically agree with that, but I want to share my perspective and where I think what was posted can go to that next level and an additional insight and things in that regard. And then lastly, once again, with this behind the scene glimpses, let's say that we are an integrator as an example. One of the things that we do is before we go on to the end user site, we test everything. We have everything properly. We're dotting all our I's and crossing all the T's. Like these are some of the things that we can be sharing, or as we're testing the equipment, things in that regard, we can be sharing some of these insights and showcase how we're unique and different from that of other traditional alarm companies in our markets. The big thing is, remember, methodical and steady wins the race. The big key here is to make sure that we're sustainable and we're being consistent. What we have seen is, Tuesday through Thursday, ideally like in the mornings in your time zone is where, like, I really prefer not to be posting things after hours. Believe it or not, even sometimes on the weekends, things work very well, but I really usually look to post things earlier in the morning, ideally between 8 to 10, if not earlier in the day to get the maximum reach and engagement. Keep in mind, most companies are not posting consistently. So we want to make sure that we're doing things that our competitors aren't. The other thing is, remember, or as I just shared, that I really don't have a lot of promotional posts that I'm doing. And the only promotional post that I'm doing is come see us at a show, come hear me speak at an event, or come to one of our webinars. And this is all it's all giving back to that of the industry and things in that regard. But as we have promotional posts, we don't want to be the other way around, whereas we're doing 3 promotional posts for every educational or valuable post type insight, things in that regard. Some of the pillars, we can look at industry trends and technologies, some of the risk management insights, success stories. And if we need to, because I know with some of the larger end users that we're working with, things need to be, sometimes the legal does not allow for us to share some of the direct insights. So we may need to have things be anonymized. And then also some of the professional development. Some engagement tactics. So keep in mind, it is really, really important to make sure that we're not just posting, but we want to make sure that we're commenting. Because, by the way, on a side note, when let's just say that if we post once per day, as an example, that means that in the notifications, and I'll show you what I mean by this in just a couple minutes. Uh, Keep in mind the way to get in the notifications more than once per day is to be able to engage with others. And what I would recommend, because I get asked this on occasion, uh, for every single time that you post, you should be commenting at least 5 to 10, 5 to 20 on 5 to 20 others. I do see, and not that I'm here to judge anyone, because if I'm judging someone, I have at least 8 to 9, if not 10, fingers coming back at me. But for me, what I have experienced, and this is not just me, but this is from mentors of mine from the LinkedIn perspective. Uh, it's the right thing to do to make sure that you are commenting on things. Now, what I will say is, when we say here to comment on industry posts to extend the reach, what we want to do is want to make sure that we're, of course, connecting with others. And in some cases, we may be following. In some cases, we may be connecting with them. And what we want to do is we want to make thoughtful comments that are very respectful and that are insightful and that are kind. And what this will do is this extends your reach. And now, by the way, LinkedIn is even showing with that of the comments that we do, what is the number of impressions? Or in other words, how many times was your comment viewed by others? Not necessarily just from that of the actual post that we've done, things in that regard. So make sure when you do a post and someone, let's say, engages with your post, do engage with it, whether you think that you want to like it, whether you want to love it, support it, or it's insightful, or if maybe it's a funny type thing, you can engage with it with that of the funny. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure you comment on that. Not only does that increase the number of comments, but it's also, it shows respect and kindness towards others as well. And once again, it expands your reach. You want to make sure, and by the way, you don't want to tag relevant industry figures just because. You want to do it only when it's appropriate. I'd use the example of when I'm taking a selfie with someone, I will usually tag the individuals that I'm with. By the way, for those that don't know who these individuals are, I purposely do them in order so that you know who is it that I'm taking a picture with, because maybe that's someone that you want to engage with for whatever reason and things in that regard. I'm not necessarily huge into hashtags, but if you're going to be doing hashtags, 2 to 3 hashtags, at most 5 things in that regard, you want to make sure that you're sharing that. The other big thing is, and this goes both ways, keep in mind when I post on my personal profile versus our company profile, all things being equal, my personal profile will get a tremendous amount of more views versus that of the company. And why? Because LinkedIn has turned to a pay for play. Where LinkedIn generates a lot of its revenue is through that of advertising. By the way, this holds true with most, if not all, social platforms. So what I will say is, when we're posting things on the company account or on the personal account, make sure that the company is engaging with it and vice versa. Remember, especially when a post initially goes out, this first 15, 20, 30 minutes, 60 minutes is really key. And when I'm using air quotes here in terms of the virality of it. Obviously, I'm not talking about like the Instagrams or the TikToks of the world, whereas we get tens of thousands, or I don't mean we, but meaning, those really are big numbers. But like from LinkedIn perspective, to maximize the number of impressions, you want to make sure that they're being engaged immediately. And the other thing is, want to make sure we're asking questions that are encouraging that of conversation. So in terms of building connections, ideally, you're going to be personalizing connection requests with someone that you have things in common with. And when you do that, typically you've got a 35% higher acceptance rate. In terms of a connection formula, you want to make sure that you're sharing context, commonality, and what your intent. And by the way, and I probably should underscore this, no selling, especially in the first couple of notes. I still, to this day, connect with someone. I already know it's coming, but I just, I'm proving the point. And the first note within minutes later is how someone can help me do X, Y, or Z. And it's like, that's just, usually those are just big turnoffs and things in that regard, especially with those that are not researching as to, and doing their due diligence. The other thing is you want to make sure you can target connections. And whether you have the paid version, I happen to have the paid Sales Navigator, but even if you have the free version, there are ways for you with LinkedIn to target that of prospects, industry peers, and even complementary strategic partners. Or when I say that, meaning strategic partners that are actually selling to the same audience that you are, things in that regard. I will recommend for you to follow that of key industry influencers and organizations, especially ones that are, that you share customers in common, because, it's like their customers, your customers, and vice versa. And you want to make sure if you don't have your notifications set up, make sure that you have notifications so you get notified. So especially when you're posting things, you'll get notified when there's engagements with that of the post so that you can engage with those individuals. And make sure that you have regular engagement, because it's just like it's all about building relationships, and that is the key. And you want to make sure you're doing that before you get to that of the sales conversation. In terms of messaging, I would imagine most of you are like myself. I get hundreds and hundreds, like several hundred emails a day. And now I'd say maybe I get maybe a dozen, well, maybe between 1 to 2 dozen LinkedIn messages per day. Obviously, I'd much rather be playing in, 1 to 2 dozen versus several hundred, because it's very easy to just delete. But when you're referencing, here's just some things if you want to take a snapshot of this. You want to make sure that you're personalizing how you relate to this individual and things in that regard, and ask some thoughtful industry related questions or things that will be conversation starters. It's just like, once again, remember, if you're in person, it's the way that we would be networking. And you want to make sure that you're sharing insightful information or resources that you think that would be helpful. So in other words, we're giving value before that of asking for that of a meeting and things in that regard. But ultimately, as you build that relationship, you are going to want to take this offline or this online conversation to offline, but don't do it over the first couple of notes and things in that regard. I'll be really quick key here, but like for those of us that are, how do I say this? For those of us that are working with that of, high value prospects, whereas there's multiple key decision makers, there's what's referred to as ABM, which is account-based marketing. So in other words, this is, once again, could be a prospect where there's several decision makers. The sales cycle is really, really long. Keep in mind, LinkedIn is a huge tool, a piece of the overall tool belt, so to speak. I'm not going to read through all these bullets because I think we're up. It's a little bit of time here, but LinkedIn can be really, really helpful because you can do a tremendous amount of research within that of your prospects, and make sure that you're building relationships with that of these individual key stakeholders and things in that regard. In terms of some of the specific LinkedIn features that we want to take into consideration, even with the free tools, there are advanced search filters. So if you are not utilizing LinkedIn from prospecting perspective, you should be doing that right now, even if you only have the free version. You can take a look at analytics in terms of, you can literally see who's engaging with your stuff, who's viewing your profile. You can research companies, but also in terms of finding prospects, you can do that. Now, obviously with the Sales Navigator and the paid versions, you're able to do even more so of this, because it extends things. Now, by the way, if you do not have, regardless whether you have the free or the paid version of LinkedIn, make sure that you have the mobile app that is downloaded. Keep in mind, as I talked about, InMail has a much higher response rate regarding versus that of the traditional email. Keep in mind, you can join that of LinkedIn groups to build relationships and to find additional prospects and to network accordingly and things in that regard. And by the way, make sure that you're taking a look at that of the actual analytics. I'll show you what I'm talking about here in just a moment when we go live on LinkedIn. So rather than me walking you through this, I'm going to show you this in just a moment, but the social selling index, and I'd like for each of you, if you want to just take a quick snapshot of this, but I'll show you as to how you can find it by just quickly Googling it and things in that regard. But it measures that of your professional brand, your brand, how you network with others, engagements, and then building relationships. So I'm going to go through just a quick 30-day plan, and then I'm going to go through the quick plan, and then we're going to jump live onto LinkedIn. I'm going to show you a few things here shortly. So when we take into consideration week one, want to make sure that we're optimizing our profile. We're connecting with out of 10 to 15 clients or partners. Want to join at least one, if not 3 to 5 industry groups, and create your first post. Keep in mind, you don't even need to spend 30 minutes on this, excuse me. Even if we're spending 5 to 20 minutes daily, that's what I'm recommending. In terms of week 2, we want to make sure that we're also engaging with other posts and leaving thoughtful comments. We want to make sure that we're sharing relevant industry articles, because as you're reading through articles or things that you're coming across and you repost and you reshare it with your insights, if things are thought provocative and helpful for you, they'll be helpful for others as well. And make sure that you're connecting with some prospects with personalized invitations and things in that regard. And by the way, your customers can invite you or can help, because when you're a second degree connection, you can reference the fact that they will know how many mutual connections you have with them and things in that regard. Make sure that you're creating original content. And the big thing is always you want to be reviewing that performance and updating that of your approach based on what the results are actually sharing. As we're getting into like weeks 3 to 4, make sure that we're posting frequently, and we're once again on a daily basis, we're engaging with things. Ideally, we're at the very least connecting with 10 quality connections, if not more. Begin some direct conversations. And this is not step 1 or 2, but ultimately, once you have built relationships, you can look to matriculate from online to offline. And then, just like always, want to make sure we're tracking activities. In terms of measuring success, in terms of some of the KPIs, you want to see profile, and I'll show you this here in literally just a minute or so. I'll show you, you want to take a look at who's viewing your profile, some of the metrics. What is your growth rate in terms of connections? What are some of the message response rates? Take into consideration, are there any improvements to your SSS score? And then most importantly, are there any meeting schedules, any opportunities that have been generated? So I'm gonna walk you through LinkedIn here momentarily. I don't know if I'll have time for this. Well, we'll see. If we have time for this, I will. By the way, well, let me ask this. Anyone that I'm connected with on LinkedIn in a first degree, anyone want to be a volunteer? Whoever is first, put this in the chat and I will volunteer you really quick. It's just going to be very quick. Okay. And by the way, don't all speak up at once. What I'm going to do is oh, awesome. Thank you. Well, appreciate that, Danny. I'm going to use you as the example here. Okay. So remember, I talked about how LinkedIn, the in-mail messaging, you're able to do things by sending like a text-based image. You can send a photo. Before, you used to be able to send audio only. Now we can send videos as well. So when you're on the app, basically, in this case, I'm gonna go to Danny Dunson. It was great seeing you once again, both you and Dave last week, Danny. What you'll do is you'll click on the paperclip, excuse me. Take a video, and then ultimately record a video, hit send, and then it's going to go over to Danny. Okay, so let me find Danny really quick on LinkedIn, and I'll show you how simple and how easy this is. So I know it's hard to see me, but I just pulled up Danny's profile within that of the in-mail messaging, and I'm clicking the paperclip. I am going to take a photo or video, and I am going to do a video. I'm going to turn this around this way. Danny, it was great seeing both you and Dave this past week, and I also really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day today to be on today's webinar on LinkedIn, which is really, really important. I do look forward to us catching up either later this week or next week, and until then, make it a great day. Danny, it was great seeing both you and Dave this past week. Okay. So Danny should be getting that shortly. And that's the video that we just played. By the way, you may have been able to hear that, but how do I say this? It'll allow you to watch it over. If you want to redo it or what have you, you can redo it. So let me just show you really quickly just a couple things on LinkedIn here, first of all. So on LinkedIn, excuse me, if you can go to that link, or you can go to Google and just do a LinkedIn social selling index. The very first link is going to be here. And then from here, right on the top, get your free score. And by the way, regardless, once again, I know I have a free version, but if you have a paid version, you can click on this. And this is where things are really, really interesting. So keep in mind, I don't know about you, but where I come from, 64 out of 100, that's a D as in David. That's not a good score. but my score of 64 out of 100 means that in our industry, meaning the security and investigations industry, I am the top 1%. I challenge each and every single one of you. You can do much better than me at 64. In my network, because I have connections that are outside of security, I am in the top 4%. Now, in my team, I'm on the top. Now, keep in mind, where does it get this social selling index? It's once again those 4 components. So once again, I am 25 out of 25 at building relationships. And if you hover, I'm not going to hover over all of them, but this is basically finding and establishing trust with the decision makers. So this is because I continue to add to my network and I communicate well with others on LinkedIn. But look, I have a lot of room for improvement here. And frankly, as far as I'm concerned, I need to make some improvements here and increase from 64. And it's, by the way, team, it's not just about the number going from 64 to 65. There's thoughts around this in terms of things in that regard. Now, keep in mind, remember, I'd mentioned that I am 64 out of 100 in our industry. And I would challenge, not now, but make sure you have the link, or you can just Google this. See as to what your score is. And are you the average? Are you below average? Are you above average? So, keep in mind, people in my network are on the average 44 and things in that regard. So really, really interesting stuff. So let's go to LinkedIn now. So when we go to LinkedIn, I think most of us will know what this looks like, but this is the feed, and I'm looking at that of the feed on just LinkedIn.com on my computer. And keep in mind, this happens to be one of my good friends, Matt's company at Park Security Systems in Pennsylvania, and he's sharing one of his client testimonials. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to celebrate this, and for time, normally I would probably put a comment and I would share some insights about why I wanted to celebrate that and things in that regard. You'll see here, obviously, there's ads and things in that regard. A couple of other things that I want to showcase here is when you go to that of your profile, which I believe is here, yes. So when you go to the profile, remember I referred to the background graphic. So keep in mind, you want to make sure that you're taking advantage of the background graphic. You'll see here, this is what my headline is in terms of what we do. You'll see I have a professional image there. You'll see the number of followers I have. I have over 500 connections, profile views. So I hope I'm not embarrassing anyone here, but I'm going to click on the open new tab. Let's see so this basically means over the last 90 days, I had 513 profile views. And let's see as to who has viewed my profile. So, this is where, once again, you can see who has. Now, by the way, if you have the free version, I believe you're able to see the last 5. So just keep in mind, if you have the free version, you're going to want to visit this, once a day or a couple of times a week, so you can see who are the individuals that are viewing you. Because, like, for example, let's say you have some upcoming appointments with someone or what have you. That would be helpful to know if someone is, if the individuals that you're meeting with are going to be reviewing through things in that regard. So, there's that. In addition to this, you'll see here over the last 7 days, my posts have had 4,409 impressions. So let's take a look at, and you'll see here, I have 114 search appearances. I mean, look, keep in mind, these numbers should be a lot higher, and they could be a lot higher, but, look, they ebb and flow here. So when we take into consideration, let's take a look at all of the analytics. So once again, you'll see here that I have, over the last 7 days, I had a 72% increase. Keep in mind, I have a slight increase with that of the number of followers, things in this regard. When we take into consideration that of the post analytics, this will take into consideration the actual posts themselves, and it'll let you know over the last, we can ultimately update that of the amount of time. So like, for example, if I wanted to do the last 365 days, and if I wanted to see the impressions, this is, not a huge number, but, 87,000 impressions. And by the way, for these, I did not pay for these. And the key here is posting content and engaging with others. I mean, there are many in our industry that have hundreds of thousands of impressions and even over 1 million impressions on a annual basis. I don't know if she's here, but my good friend Elizabeth Parks. I mean, she posts several times. Well, I shouldn't say several. She posts more than one time per day. She's got a tremendous amount of followers. Obviously, what they do is they provide invaluable insights for that of the industry and things in that regard. But we can take into consideration how many engagements as well. So of those, you can see all of the various engagements in terms of clicks and comments and things in that regard. And then when you go to that of these particular ones, so you'll see here, this was actually a fun one here. So ironically, I kind of made a little bit of a mistake here with this one. I asked as to who was, ISC West, who's with me. And I gave a big thanks to those that were coming to that of our event. And I also tagged that of various sponsors for that of our event at ISC West. And I happened to be on the plane first. I didn't charter the plane, even though many in the comments were suggesting that. But with this particular one, with this selfie, 155 likes / engagements and 74 comments and 1 repost. So my point being here is it's so important to continue to engage. So let's go back here really quick. By the way, I know we're just at about time. Does anyone have any questions that I can address really quickly? Any burning questions on that of LinkedIn? One of the other things, and while we're waiting for that, keep in mind, remember I showed the notifications. So when, see here, this individual, Ivy Marguerite, and 14 others reacted to your post. When you're engaging with others, like for example, I remember just literally just 2 or 3 minutes ago, I celebrated Parks Security Systems post, and then AJ Gomez happened to comment on it. So this means that AJ is showing up in my notifications feed. So what is this telling us? This is telling us that not only do we need to post, but we also need to make sure that we're engaging with others and commenting, because we want to be showing up in others' feeds as well, if that makes sense. So keep these things in mind. I want to give a big thanks. I know we're at the top of the hour. I really appreciate everyone's time. And I want to just quickly announce that of our next webinar masterclass is taking place on July 22nd. This QR code will take you to the RSVP. We're going to do a deep dive in Google Ads as well as local service ads, or LSAs. So this is going to be everything paid ads from the Google perspective. And I'd love for each and every single one of you to attend that. You can use the QR code. Once again, a big thanks to everyone that attended live today. For those of you that are going to be watching this on demand, a big thanks. I would love any and all of your feedback. And I think that we are good. Let's see here. Awesome. I really appreciate everyone's feedback here. This is very, 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 very kind of you. Thank you. Yes. We will have a replay, and we can send a link to the actual deck as well to all the attendees. This should happen a little later this afternoon, but I guess we will go ahead and wrap up with that. A big thanks once again to each and every single one of you. Really, really appreciative of your time. I know we're a couple minutes over. Once again, a big thanks to that of Recognize and to that of NAPCO for sponsoring today. A big thanks for my team, because without all of you, these things would not be possible. And most importantly, for those of you that have stuck around, especially this long, thank you so much for your time. I know how valuable your time is. And until next time, make it a great day.